family, it's time for a true look at your world. Let's get hooked up for Pack Therapy. Here's your hosts, Tim Donnelly and Graham Hill.
Welcome back, Pack Therapy, the podcast. You can find it everywhere podcasts can be found. Please like and subscribe, and you're going to want to bookmark this one because we have a pretty darn impressive and we're very excited for our next guest. Gary Hahn, voice of the NC State Wolfpack. You can follow him on Twitter at Pack Radio. Gary, thank you for taking the time. I'm going to give a quick backstory for those that maybe are jumping on the bandwagon late. It's public knowledge that your decades-plus long run as the voice of the Wolfpack is coming to a close after this run is over, and that's become a pretty fun tracking point for this run by NC State. So in addition to starting with our appreciation for you joining us here on Pack Therapy, myself and Graham Hill, I'll add this. Do you have like a thank you speech written that you just like fold up at the end of every second half and go, not today, and put it back in the pocket?
No, well, I did have some bullet points that I put on my phone. You know, you got that little notepad that you can put on your iPhone, and so I've had that, and I put it in there since I guess it was right after the Louisville game. I don't think I had it for that one. I really thought NC State had a chance to beat Louisville, but after that, I wasn't sure. And if anybody tells you and has come up to you now and said, "Well, I knew on Sunday before the ACC tournament that the Wolfpack was going to win 5 games in 5 days," they're lying, because nobody did. I mean, the only people that even remotely believed it were in the NC State locker room. It was the players and the coaches, and I'm sure they did, because you've got to believe to pull off what they did, and to win, what is it now, 9 straight games, and hopefully 10 on Saturday.
Is there anything superstitious that you've done? Are you wearing the same gear, the same anything?
No, but Coach Keats is real superstitious. In fact, I'll tell you a little story. When my mother had a fall, I was at Clemson, and I was her caregiver for 2 years after she suffered a stroke, and she was living with me, and she fell, and I had to get back to Raleigh, and she died 8 days later. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't do that game. I had to get back. In fact, the medical people said, "You better be back here by 7 o'clock because, we don't think your mom is going to live any longer than that." So I hustled back best I could, and then she died 8 days later. But it was just it's just been kind of a surreal type thing. But I'll tell you a little bit about Coach Keats. Because Tony Haynes was there by himself and had to do the game, I gave him all of my prep work. Mm-hmm. And I told him, you're going to have to do it. Here's everything you need. Just memorize and book and do whatever you have to do, because he was there pretty much by himself. He had to do the whole broadcast, pregame, halftime, postgame. And so Coach Keats normally would do the pregame interview when you got to the arena. When he gets off the bus, you better follow him into the locker room. You sit down, you start to do the 2 segments, and then when you're done, you get up and leave. Well, Coach Keats said, "Tony, let's do it at the hotel, because I know you're under a whole lot of pressure, and this will make it a lot easier on you." Well, NC State ends up winning that game. Well, for the rest of the season, we continue to do the pregame just when he gets to the arena, like always, because that's the way he does it. Well, at the ACC tournament, I mentioned to him, I said, it'd be a whole lot easier if we did this thing at the hotel, and you're 1-0. And so we started to do it at the last shoot-around. Every time NC State would have a shoot-around right before the game or several hours before the game, that's when we'd sit down and do the interview. We get to Washington, D.C. We're working out in this high school gym, Episcopal High in Arlington, Virginia. Every morning, the bus leaves at 9:30, right after the shoot-around. On game day, well, every day was a game day. We sat down and did that pregame. Well, NC State keeps winning, so coach is not going to give it up. And we've been doing it the same way all the way through Dallas, Texas, and now we're going to be doing it the same way in Phoenix. But that's how superstitious he is.
Well, I think I speak for all of Wolfpack Nation when I say you do it the exact same way, okay?
Oh, I've got to be on that bus, or I'm going to get unloaded on. I mean, there's no way, no two ways about it. So yeah, we're going to keep doing it that way because that's the way Coach wants to do it. He's in charge. Whatever he says goes.
Gary Hahn, voice of the NC State Wolfpack, joined us on Pack Therapy alongside Tim Donnelly. I'm Graham Hill. Gary, the way I see this interview going is I'm going to let Tim kind of ask you the X's and O's of NC State's run in the tournament. I want to ask more questions about just your career in sports radio because from a very young age, I knew I wanted to work in sports radio, whether it was play-by-play commentary, now here, fortunate enough to be at the Fan. And one of the reasons was because of you and Tony Haynes growing up, going to NC State football and basketball games. And you might not remember this, but in 2018, I had the privilege of sitting beside you at the Wolfpack Coaches Caravan Tour at the Kinston Country Club. And I knew when you wrote your email on the back of a name tag that it would come up big one day. So thank you for doing this. I just want to ask you, Gary, when did you know that you wanted to have a career in sports radio as a play-by-play commentator?
Well, I grew up in western Pennsylvania, about 35, 40 miles west of Pittsburgh in the Beaver Falls, New Brighton, Chippewa Township area. And I started about age 6, I guess it was, to listen to the Pittsburgh Pirates. And they had 2 Hall of Fame broadcasters. One was a straight man, one was a wild man. The wild man was Bob Prince. The straight man was Jim Woods. And they had so much fun together on the air. I thought, man, this is the job. This is it. Because all of my relatives worked in factories. They either worked like my dad did in a zinc smelting plant, or they worked in a steel mill, or they worked someplace like that, and that didn't appeal to me too much. And so I started to get the bug at a very early age. And by age probably 12 or 13, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the voice of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Well, that never worked out. But I thought, well, the next best thing would be to be the voice of a major college team. And so I kind of set my sights on that. But if you'd have seen me as a high school senior and listened to me, you'd have just laughed at me. You thought you're crazy, with the kind of voice you do. I talk through my nose, had a Western Pennsylvania accent. It was terrible. And somehow I got into Butler University in the radio department. I guess they felt sorry for me, or they had a quota or something. But I got in there, and the Lord gave me some talent, and He helped me develop that talent. And I was sold out to change my voice. I was sold out to learn how to speak and talk from the diaphragm and all of that. I took singing lessons. I took speech. I took everything I could do to try and develop my voice. And the Lord's opened up a lot of doors for me. He opened up an incredible door for me to come to NC State. But before that, He opened up some incredible doors as well. But coming to NC State's been the biggest blessing of my broadcasting career. And I just, I'm grateful to the Lord Jesus Christ for everything He's done in my life.
There's our reminder to sit up straight, Tim.
I was going to say, I just started thinking about where I'm talking from. It better be the diaphragm. And I'll use a basketball term. I think they saw potential, right? You're saying they felt sorry for you. I think they knew something was in there, and obviously they were right. Which actually leads me to this, right? You've been in the game for a while, and if we go back to when you were 6 years old, you've seen every different kind of player. Have you seen anything like the phenomenon that is DJ Burns over the last 20 days?
Yeah, just once. Only one other time, and that was when I was at the University of Louisville, and I was the analyst and the engineer for the 1979-1980 University of Louisville basketball team that won the national championship. They had this team, NC State team doesn't have it, but they had a mega leader in the name of Darrell Griffith. And then they had some wonderful talent around him, Derek Smith, Wiley Brown, Roger Berkman, Jerry Eves, and I could go on and on. But these guys ended up winning it all, and that was the most together group of people that I've ever seen. And if Darrell Griffith told you to do something, you would go over there and stand on your head and spit quarters, everybody would have done it. But, that's the kind of leader he was, and he was a tremendous player, went on to play many, many years in the NBA, and he was a skywalker. I mean, other than David Thompson, I've never seen anybody be able to elevate like Darrell Griffith. But that team had togetherness. These guys loved each other. They would do anything for each other. They were connected. This team is the closest I've seen to that. Now, this NC State team doesn't have a mega leader, but it's got a whole bunch of veterans. And these guys have played basketball for a long time. They're hungry. And all of a sudden at the end of the year, things weren't going very good. But they weren't that bad. I mean, they lost 4 straight games going into the ACC tournament, but they were competitive in all of them. And what you'd find was that there was a stretch of about 5 minutes or 7 minutes in the game. It either came in the first half. Most of the time it came in the second half in the last 10 minutes, where a couple of things would happen. There'd either be a bunch of breakdowns defensively, or there'd be a period where NC State just couldn't put the ball in the basket. And that's all it takes when you're playing. I'll tell you, when you're playing ACC games, there's a fine line between winning and losing, and that's all it takes. And these guys weren't that bad. So the amazing thing is how quickly they turned it around. Coach Keats told them, this is what you got to do. You guys told me before the season started you wanted to win the ACC championship. Well, you're going to have to win 5 games to do it. And if you do these things, this is what will happen. And all of a sudden, guards weren't blowing by NC State defensively. The ball screen defense was better. You got complementary scoring. Some guys stepped up big time like Michael O'Connell and Mo Diarra. But to Mo's defense, I mean, he was already playing pretty well even during those 4 games. But you've got to have guys step up. Ben Middlebrooks, I mean, you can go on and on and on. Everybody just stepped up, and if they weren't contributing offensively, like a Jaden Taylor, he had 28 at Pitt in the last regular season game, but he hadn't given NC State much offensively, and he had an ankle issue during the ACC tournament. But he's done great things on defense. He's a great on-ball defender, and he's embraced that role. And that's what you got to have, and that's how NC State turned it around. But I still marvel at how quickly they were able to do it.
What about the off-the-court stuff? Was that Louisville team or anything like DJ Burns? I saw he and DJ Horn were at Applebee's, and not only did they pack out the Applebee's, the parking lot, the line wrapped around however long, it looked like there was a parade in town, and it was fans wanted to see and interact with them. Have you seen the I don't know, like it felt like David Cassidy from back in the day or something. Like, have they hit the celebrity before in anything you've seen?
No, even the 1980 Louisville team. Now, when it came back to Louisville, I mean, it was a big deal. They packed Freedom Hall, and there were parades and all of that sort of stuff. But no, nothing like this. In fact, I just found this out. I got up at 6 a.m. to do some yard work because a big tree limb had fallen down in my yard while I was gone. I had to get rid of that. And so I was out there, and a neighbor came out. Did you see what happened? I only live about a mile away from that Applebee's. And she was telling me about DJ Burns was there, and there was a big crowd that was circling the restaurant. And I said, no, I didn't know about that because I've been too busy getting ready for, 3 different teams here in the Final Four to call a ball game. But that just blew my mind. But this is a good group of guys. I mean, it really is. These are some really neat personalities, some character people. And DJ Burns, while he's very, very physical on the court and is a tremendous competitor off the court, he's just a big furball. I mean, he's just the nicest, softest, most humble, engaging, sweet kind of guy that you'd ever want to meet.
Gary, through going to NC State media availability this past football season, obviously I see you do your one-on-one pregame interviews with Dave Dorn. It reminds me that you work really closely with these coaches, both professionally and personally. I'm curious, what does Kevin Keatts mean to you as a friend, as a colleague, and also do you have any unique stories that you would mind sharing with us about Kevin Keatts just as a person as you've gotten to know him throughout your career and his career here at NC State?
Well, I can tell you, Kevin Keatts is the same guy during a 4-game losing streak, and he's the same guy now during a 9-game winning streak. That's the amazing thing about Kevin Keatts. I think he's got some deep inner faith that everything is going to work out for him and everything is going to work out for what he's trying to do. And, there've been a couple of rough years, but, he's bounced back. And he's the same guy. And I have a lot of respect for that. And just to give you some idea about Coach Keatts as a person, when my mom died, and I was trying to get a car out of Clemson and get back to Raleigh, he was talking to me on the telephone.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he cares. He cares about people, and he said, "You keep me updated on what's going on." So I did, and we texted back and forth during the 8 days. But the weekend of the last regular season game, the family plot is up there about 35 miles northwest of Pittsburgh. And my mom wanted to be buried. She didn't want to be cremated. So basically I flew up on Thursday on my own. I conducted her graveside service on Friday. I took the rent-a-car back to the airport, went met the team bus when they landed at the Pittsburgh airport in the charter terminal, and rode the bus down into Pittsburgh, did the game the next night, flew back with the team. My fiance also went with me. She was right there by the bedside when my mom died, and he made that all possible. He made it so that she could fly back with me, and there aren't too many coaches I don't think that would do that, but he did, and that just shows you the kind of person he is. And it was definitely a different kind of weekend that weekend, but I'll always be grateful to him for working that all out, because if Rhonda and I would have had regular airfare both ways from Pittsburgh to Raleigh, I think it was going to end up costing us something like $1,200, and that was just ridiculous. So he made that happen, and that's I think a pretty good example of what you get with Kevin Keatts.
Well, I know we said as much on air, and the station did a bunch when all of that took place. But having you here, I would like to pass along the condolences and thoughts and prayers on the passing of your mom, and because she's popped up a few times in the conversation, and it's obvious, how much she meant to you. So we want to make sure we take the time to do that.
Well, I had my mom for almost 72 years. Not a lot of people can say that. My mom was pushing 95 years old when the Lord took her home. And, I still have periods of where I'll just break down and start crying here at the house. But it's getting better, and it'll continue to get better as I go along. But I think, I truly believe that God orchestrates everything. He holds everything together, and everything happens on His timetable. And I just thank Him for the blessing that this run to the Final Four has been, because it's helped me it's been a distraction for me away from my mom, and it's been a wonderful distraction, because when you're calling games on radio and all the prep you have to do to get ready for it, it takes up a lot of time, and that's about all you can think about. You're focused on all of that, and I think that's been good for me.
Well, we'll play into that distraction a bit here and ask the next one. Obviously, with your prep, Zach Edey has to come up in it occasionally. You've been pouring over the numbers. What is a key to making that guy not look like the All-American that he is on Saturday?
Well, I think the first thing you got to do is you got to make sure if he catches it, you try to limit his touches with great ball pressure. But he's going to touch the ball. There's just no way around that. But if he touches it, he better touch it outside the lane, because if he touches it in deep, it's all over. I mean, it's either going to be a layup or a dunk, or if he misses a shot, he's going to tip it back in or dunk it back in. So you've got to be able to do that. So the ball pressure defensively has to be very good, and you've got to be physical with him, which I think DJ Burns will be, but you've got to be physical with him without fouling. And again, you got to make sure you kind of root him out so that he doesn't catch it deep, because I've been watching games. I've watched about 4 of them. I've got this thing basketball is giving me called Synergy Video Express. I get to kind of get in on it with them, and I can pull down any game after it's played. It doesn't matter if it's NBA game, women, men, you name it, I can pull it down. So I pulled some Purdue games down and been watching, and the teams that have let Edey catch it deep, they don't win. And there, of course, there haven't been many losses for Purdue anyway. They've only lost 4 games, but they're the only theme I could find in the 4 was just poor shooting. 28% from the field in the 4 losses, and then they haven't been to the foul line as much. Normally they get to the foul line about 25 times a game. And so if you can limit their guard without fouling, keep them off the free throw line, keep Edey outside the lane, and make him work for what he gets, I think that's the best scenario for NC State. But if you try to double him, which I'm sure the Pac will try to do at times, Wisconsin a few times triple teamed him, and they ended up beating Purdue in the Big Ten tournament 76-75. But since then, Purdue's won 4 straight. But if you double Edey, the problem that you have is that you've got dead-eye three-point shooters all around the perimeter, because Purdue shoots 41% as a team, and that's second best in America. And so, Edey's no dummy. He can pass, and he's gonna get the open man. So that's it's sort of a pick your poison type thing, and we'll see what vile NC State decides to grab on Saturday.
Gary Hahn, voice of the Wolfpack, joined us on Pack Therapy. Gary, where there's a Batman, there's always a Robin. And I think it'd only be fair during this interview with you that we bring up your Robin, Tony Haynes, sideline reporter for NC State football, your color analyst for basketball. What's your relationship like with Tony? I mean, I know you spend a lot of time together for work, but how did you guys develop sort of just a friendship where when you guys call games together or work together, it just comes naturally as you guys have known each other for many years?
Well, Tony was already at Capital Broadcasting when I came, and he was doing sportscasts. I think it was in the afternoon on the North Carolina News Network, and they brought me in to do mornings and then do Wolfpack football and basketball. And so for a while, I was actually Tony's supervisor, if you can believe that. Tony's real talented. I could see that right off the bat. He's probably more talented than I am. But I could not have asked for a better partner for broadcasting than Tony Haynes, because he is a student of the game. He's a tremendous I think he's the best basketball analyst on radio in the ACC, and he'd be hard to top, if you go all over the country, because he's locked in. He knows exactly when to come in, how long to speak. We don't talk over each other. And he's been a good friend. We used to play more golf together. Tony doesn't play much golf now. He was an excellent junior golfer, and if he would set his mind to it again, he could be scratch. I mean, that's how good he is. But and I'm not very good, so he had to put up with that. But it's been a good run, and I couldn't have asked for a better teammate on football to do sidelines. I couldn't have asked for a better analyst than Johnny Evans. Johnny's one of my personal heroes, and it has nothing to do with football. It has everything to do with who he is and his faith in the Lord. So I've just been blessed. Howard Baum has been the statistician for my entire 34 years. He's been amazing. Howard's 89. He's slowing down a little bit, but in his prime, I'm telling you, there is nobody better than doing stats. He used to come up with all the things that you're seeing on the crawl now on television, all of it. And I knew right away when I got to Raleigh that he did, like, I think it was after the first football game. I said, somehow I've got to get, because he was passing me notes, and sometimes they were a little too late. And I told the engineer, I said, can you figure out a way so that he can talk to me in my right ear and I can hear me in the left ear? And so he brought it about. And I told Howard, I said, now you can't give me War and Peace now. You got to give me short little things here, because I can't listen to you and talk at the same time. No human being can do that. But he got the hang of it. And, I mean, he's given our broadcast such a boost with information that it's not funny. He's just been great. Francis Combs has been a wonderful friend and my spotter. He's saved me from many mistakes. And David Modlin's been our producer-engineer for a long time. Before that, it was Rob Deacon. And I'm trying to think, there was one other fella in there somewhere, but not for very long. But it's just been a marvelous team. I don't try to do their job, and they don't try to do mine. And I just am kind of the ringmaster in football, and it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, I know Tony's got some incredible information. The listeners need to know it. And so I try to back off as much as I can and still be descriptive.
As if we needed another reason to be jealous of Tony, right? He gets to work with all the people you just mentioned, see all the great runs that you've both been a part of, to also know he could be a scratch golfer. I mean, it's just throwing a little extra on there, a little icing on the cake. Gary, we appreciate you for taking the time. I know that all of your prep is extensive during an NCAA tournament run. Last question for you. I don't know if you read, there's an article in the Washington Post that hints at this, and obviously there's the conversations that surround a run like this. What's your response to people that say the run to the Final Four this year is lucky? Because there is some of that, but all right, I already hear you jumping in, so I'm gonna get out of the way, lay back as they say, and let the legend take it.
No. These guys have earned it. Now, do you have to have a few breaks during the way? Yeah, NC State had a big break in the Virginia game. I mean, basically, you've got Virginia's best free throw shooter going to the line. He's like 89%, and he doesn't miss one, but he misses two. Now, there's something called game pressure there, and there's also something that has been bugging Virginia all year. Their fans have been all over them about their poor team free throw shooting. Well, you don't think that's going through the head of this guy with the game on the line? Probably is. Anyway, he misses two. Pack gets the ball. Morsell gets it up the left sideline to O'Connell, and I know he was just trying to get it to the basket and give it a chance because it was, McNeely almost got there and blocked the shot. I mean, it was very, very close. He just got it away. He banked it in. It was incredible. NC State goes to overtime and just wipes Virginia out in the next 5 minutes. Well, you still got to make the basket. You still got to have those things happen. So no, this isn't this isn't luck. These guys are playing good basketball. You realize that the last six opponents, NC State has. This just shows you the defensive improvement. The NC State's held the last six opponents to less than 40% shooting from the field, and 69 points. Now that's good defense. And NC State offensively, I think, during this 9-game winning streak is shooting 48% from the field and averaging almost 80 points a game. I think it's 79 point something. And so that's improvement. I mean, that's not luck. That's people getting better and stepping up. And, this is a team that's been playing under tremendous pressure night after night after night. It's either win or go home. Pressure doesn't bother these guys anymore. It really doesn't. Now, this is a big stage, but last weekend was a big stage. The weekend before that in Pittsburgh was a big stage. These guys keep playing the same way. And if they play the same way, they've got a chance. I'm not going to discount NC State in the Final Four. I won't do it because I've seen it up close and personal. I know what's going on, and I know the team synergy. I know the poise that these guys have played with. I know the mental and physical toughness that they've had. You can't win 5 straight games against top-flight competition in the ACC and not be in the greatest shape physically. I mean, you just can't do it. But during those games, NC State in the second half looked like the fresher team almost every game. And that's incredible. That's not luck. It just doesn't happen. NC State has earned every bit of what it's received so far.
I was hoping you had the perfect answer for that question, and you did. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Gary, real quickly, I know you have a plane to catch, but again, the commentator in me just has to know this, and this is going to be probably a tough question for you to narrow down with your career that you've had at NC State. Again, a phenomenal one. Favorite call that you've ever had in NC State, either football or we'll stick with basketball since we're focusing on the Final Four. Favorite call that you've made for an NC State basketball game?
Oh man, jeez. I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what. The only one I can remember right now, because I've got a bad long-term memory, but a really great short-term memory, which you have to do radio because you got to flush, the last opponent and learn everything new again. There are some people come up to me sometimes and go, you remember this game? I don't even remember hardly being there. I'll tell you. That's the way my mind works. So I'd have to say probably the Michael O'Connell banked in 3 at the ACC tournament against Virginia, because that's the last big one. And then the end of the Carolina game to win the ACC championship. I thought that was a pretty good call. And so those are two of them. And this run to the Final Four is number one on my list. I mean, there's been some other wonderful moments. NC State beating UConn when it hadn't gone to the Sweet 16 forever. That was big. Phillip Rivers and Thunder Dan beating Notre Dame in the Gator Bowl, and what was it, 2003 or something like that? That was huge. There've been some other moments, and there've been a few games that I just happen to remember that I thought were very good because they went right down to the last play. And one of them was over in Duke in 1991. NC State scores to go up, I think it was like 35-32 or something like that. But there's only time for the kickoff. NC State kicks off to this Duke player named Brad Breedlove. He starts bringing it up the field. He goes to the right. He makes a miss. He goes back to the left. He makes a miss. There's only one guy that has got a shot at him, and that's this little puny kicker that we've got called Mark Falble. And fortunately, he had enough brains to know that if he got the angle on him, he could force him out of bounds. The game would be over, and that's exactly what happened. And he forced him out somewhere. I think it was inside the 15-yard line, and the clock had already gone to 0. Now, that's an incredible football game. I don't care who you are, and I still remember that one. So, there are bits and pieces here, but it's just been a marvelous 34-year run. It's been the greatest professional blessing in my life, and I'm going to miss being on the air. I'm not going to kid you there. Because I love being on the air, and I probably always will love being on the air. But I want to go when I still have my skills, and the prep work that you have to do is getting harder for me to do, and it's taking longer, and it's become a job. And I'd never thought that this job would become a job. But and trying to take care of my mom and do this job too, that was a real juggling act. I'd be up until 1 o'clock in the morning most mornings, trying to get ready for the next game. Sometimes 2 o'clock. And then I'd have to get mom up if she had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and then I'd try to go back to sleep again. And so I'm just kind of worn out, but I got a lot to do here in retirement. I'm probably going to be slammed for the next couple of years. I'm getting married in August, so a lot of things are happening for me, and I'm not sad to be leaving. I don't think the last couple of minutes, I'm going to be balling on the air or anything like that, because I've been ready for this since I announced my retirement in October. But 34 years is a good run, and to end it like this, it's just unforgettable. So I just thank the Lord for all of it.
Well, congratulations on the upcoming wedding, and I'll make this standing offer from the Pack Therapy podcast. If you ever need to scratch that itch and talk some NC State sports, our phone lines will always be open for you, because I know you said your long-term memory is maybe not what we might hope it is, but then you went into citing a kicker's name from a bunch of years ago. So I think you were sandbagging us a little bit there. We have a standing invitation. This was great. Good luck on the call. Hopefully there's 2 more games for you before you call it a career with the Wolfpack. But this was great for Graham and I, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Gary.
Well, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Graham, and appreciate you. And I don't know what's going to happen this weekend, but I know that I'm not going to discount the Pack. They got a shot.
There it is. Thanks.
You bet.